She looked out for everybody. Whenever anybody needed something, she helped them out. So why would they do this to my baby? I just don't understand what my grandbaby's gonna do. They don't understand what's really going on, and it's gonna be hard.
In the late hours of February 9, 2024, Remy, a 20-year-old female TikToker, was found dead after being shot 12 times in the home she shared with her baby daddy just days after giving birth. At around 7:43 p.m., a neighbor called 911 to report a strange incident after they heard what they initially believed were firecrackers coming from an apartment. Feeling concerned, the neighbor went to check on the resident of the apartment, but after knocking repeatedly and getting no answer, they decided to contact the police for a welfare check. When investigators got to the reported apartment, they discovered the most shocking and unbelievable thing ever. This is the 20-year-old Ramaya Remy Griffin. She was born in Bronx, New York with her family and had an older sister, Mariah Griffin, who described her as her best friend. After a few years of living in New York, the family decided to move to Baldwin-Borough, Pennsylvania, seeking better opportunities and a safer environment. This transition allowed Remy to grow up in a new community where she attended Stowe Rocks High School in Pittsburgh. Her former classmates remembered her as someone who always went above and beyond to help others. Friends and family described Remy as having a vibrant personality that naturally drew people to her. That same irresistible charm would lead her to start dating a man who would change her life in ways she never could have imagined. Remy's energy was evident in her TikTok posts, where she showcased a young woman filled with joy and enthusiasm for life. Those close to her recalled how she was never afraid to express her thoughts and opinions. She uploads videos of her dancing joyfully with friends, sharing infectious laughter, or vlogging her daily life where she shares makeup trends and offers fashion tips. Her TikTok stories were a vibrant mix of motivational quotes and empowering messages, inspiring her audience to pursue their dreams and aspirations despite any obstacles. But just when it seemed like her life was picture perfect, nothing could have prepared her for what was to come. At just 18 years old, Remy met her baby daddy, 22-year-old Adeline Itongwa, through a circle of mutual friends. Adeline was a Kenyan native who moved to the United States and started working as a long-distance truck driver. The two were immediately drawn to each other. They were both young and shared mutual interests. They enjoyed the same kind of music, outdoor adventures, and future aspirations. To top it off, they loved social media, where they started sharing their loved-up videos and pictures on TikTok and YouTube, for example. This video
Hey YouTube, it's your girl Remy.
That's Stella.
Today we're gonna be doing a Q&A, getting to know us basically. It's gonna be our first video on our channels. Let's get into the video. Next question is favorite and least favorite thing about each other.
She get on my nerves all the time, most of the time.
Well, my least favorite thing is that he don't like going out and he don't like doing stuff. I mean, sometimes we go out and stuff, but sometimes he's lazy. On to the next question. What are our plans for the future?
Money, money, money.
Someday married, own a house, have kids.
All houses.
Have businesses. Next question.
Now you see all the plans and dreams they had. One day something happened, something they did not mention in that video. A year after they first met, Remy got pregnant with Adeline baby. While Remy's family was happy she was dating this young man, and it seemed they really loved each other, what they didn't expect was for the couple to be expecting a child soon. They were obviously concerned about how the young couple would handle the responsibilities of parenthood. Remember, Remy is just 19 and Adeline is just 21 at this point. But Remy and her soon-to-be baby daddy were over the moon. A few months later, they welcomed their baby, and immediately Remy embraced motherhood wholeheartedly, dedicating herself to her daughter, who quickly became her world. Her social media captured their precious moments together, from matching outfits to bedtime stories. Adeline, on the other hand, was also adjusting to this new chapter in his life. Becoming a father was a completely new experience for him, and he wasn't sure what was expected or how to step into his role. But despite their young age and the challenges of becoming parents, Remy and Adeline were determined to work together as a team. They wanted to give their daughter the best life possible, filled with love, support, and stability. To make this happen, they took on extra work. Remy, who was skilled at hairstyling, started booking more clients each week, while Adeline began driving his delivery truck on longer and more frequent shifts. But on one of those days, something happened. Remy was found dead. This shocking discovery began when a neighbor called 911. She had heard loud noises coming from Remy's apartment. At first, it sounded like someone was shooting firecrackers. But there was something unusual about this firecracker, and it made the neighbors uneasy, so she decided to go knock at the door and check if everything was all right. But after knocking repeatedly and getting no answer, she just decided to contact the police to come do a welfare check. And it was a call that would uncover a scene no one was prepared for. By 8:02 p.m., officers arrived at Remy's apartment and were met with a questionable scene. The entrance door to the apartment was unlocked, but what they found inside would change everything. As officers stepped further into the apartment, a tragic sight froze them in their tracks. They saw Remy's lifeless body lying on the floor in her living room. They immediately rushed to check for a pulse, but found nothing. She was declared dead on the scene. But the true horror was when they looked closer. It was discovered that Remy had suffered multiple gunshot wounds, someone had shot her, and not just once or twice, she had been shot a total of 12 times. It was clear this wasn't an impulsive attack. It was clearly premeditated. But who could have done this to a young mother, and why? Bosses tried to piece together what had happened. Trying to check for clues, they heard a faint sound coming from another room in the apartment. So they followed the sound, and there, they uncovered a heartbreaking scene. They found Remy's newborn daughter safe in her crib. She had been in the next room while someone had shot her mother multiple times. To ensure the baby's safety, the police worked with Child Protective Services, placing her under her grandmother's care with police protection. It was at that same time the police called Adeline, the baby's father, who was on a long-distance delivery, and he promised to come back to the scene. Meanwhile, as the police secured the life of the baby, crime scene investigators arrived. They worked through the night, collecting evidence and reconstructing Remy's final moments. Found multiple shell casings scattered across the living room floor, indicating the shooter remained in place while firing also. Remy's keys were found resting on the kitchen counter, and a half-empty coffee cup sat on the living room table, suggesting she had been going about her routine. What was surprising was there were no signs of forced entry, which may likely suggest she had willingly let someone into the apartment, someone she knew. Her purse and valuables were untouched, ruling out a robbery, but who could have ended the life of a mother who had just given birth? A dedicated tip line was set up, encouraging the community to share any information that could help solve the case. Then soon enough, people started to share information surveillance cameras had not captured that day. One neighbor shared crucial information with the investigator, but before this information, the investigators had reviewed the surveillance footage from the cameras around the property. The cameras captured Remy returning from running errands around 2 p.m. She was seen carrying shopping bags and holding her daughter in her arms. Back in the house, near the door, her daughter's diaper bag was packed and ready, so it could be that she had been preparing for an outing or was expecting someone to pick up the baby. The positioning of furniture and personal items remained undisturbed, further indicating that nothing had been ransacked in the apartment. Investigators also found out that between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. of that same day, Remy was said to have exchanged several text messages with multiple people about weekend plans. One to her mother, Remy mentioned an upcoming visit to discuss baby custody arrangements, and the last text from Remy was sent at around 5:12 p.m. to a friend, telling the friend she would call later that evening. That friend was contacted and confirmed that Remy never called back. Meanwhile, Adeline is still reachable, and he is shocked about the news, and he is on the way back to the scene. So that one neighbor who shared the information surveillance did not capture said that she saw a recognizable car parked in the complex lot. The neighbor knew this car because she had seen both Remy and Adeline use it before. At first, she didn't make a fuss about it. After all, this wasn't the first time she had seen it. But the familiar sight of that car would take on an entirely different meaning, one that no one could have anticipated. In fact, it was later confirmed that not only one neighbor saw it, but other neighbors also came forward to report seeing it in the parking lot during crucial times. Not only that, security footage from nearby businesses showed a person matching Adeline's description walking toward Remy's apartment shortly before the estimated time of her death, which helped them to establish a timeline. Remy's family was also interviewed, and they shared that there had been recent conversations about custody arrangements and planned meetings, a revelation that incited some disagreements. Several witnesses also shared information about interactions they had witnessed between Remy and Adeline in the days leading up to the incident. Additionally, messages on Remy's social media indicated there had been growing tension around co-parenting responsibilities between Remy and her baby daddy. But still, there was no solid evidence to link Adeline to the death of her girlfriend. Now, remember when Adeline told the police he was on his way to the crime scene? Adeline never showed up. Instead, he posted a short message online honoring Remy, his baby mama. In the post, he shared how shocked and heartbroken he was by her death and urged anyone with information about what happened to come forward and help the investigation. He also actively participated in group chats discussing the tragedy. Not only that, he also started showing an unusual interest in the details of the police investigation and would frequently ask about the evidence that had been uncovered by the police, more like tracking their progress. Adeline kept in touch with Remy's family, offering condolences and support. He visited Remy's mother, who was now caring for their daughter. And finally, Adeline met the investigators who had called him, providing a detailed account of his movements on the day of the murder and expressing sorrow over the loss of his child's mother. But, while the family mourned, authorities were closing in on the truth. Just when Adeline thought he couldn't be caught, digital evidence began to contradict the story he had presented to the police in the beginning. When his phone location was checked, on the day, police saw he was near Remy's apartment at critical times on February 9th. Traffic cameras tracking the shared car's movements also signed with witness accounts of its presence at the complex. On February 23rd, just 12 days after Remy's murder, an arrest warrant was issued for Adeline Itongwa. Officers found him at his residence. He was just going about what seemed like an ordinary day for him. During the arrest, he remained silent, refusing to make any statements as officers read him his Miranda rights. As he was led away in handcuffs, neighbors gathered to watch, many recognizing him from news coverage of Remy's death. The truth, however, was even more horrifying than anyone imagined. The Allegheny County District Attorney's Office charged Adeline Itongwa with multiple offenses, including criminal homicide, highlighting the premeditated nature of Remy's murder. He also faced charges of endangering the welfare of a child, acknowledging the danger posed to his daughter, who had been present during the crime. The criminal complaint outlined the evidence supporting each charge. The homicide charge was supported by forensic evidence, witness statements, and digital data placing Adeline at the scene. The child endangerment charge stemmed from his decision to leave his 1-year-old daughter alone in the apartment after allegedly taking her mother's life. Prosecutors emphasized the calculated nature of the crime, his timing, the number of shots fired, and his actions at the funeral all played a role in their case.
What happens behind closed doors really don't get spoke of much, but there were some things that I've heard, and it kind of raised an eyebrow.
Mariah described Itongwa as a shady person and controlling, but she respected the fact that her sister still had love for him. And the night she found out Remy had been killed, Mariah said Itongwa needed to know as soon as possible.
He was sounding normal, so in my head, I'm like, he doesn't know what happened. So I didn't want to be the one to tell him what happened. Looking back, it's like he knew what happened.
Charging documents highlighted his attempts to fabricate an alibi and his continued contact with Remy's family after her death, describing these actions as efforts to deflect suspicion while keeping tabs on the investigation. But justice would not come easily, and the battle was far from over. As of early 2024, Adeline Itongwa remains in custody at the Allegheny County Jail, held without bail.
The news of Itongwa's arrest reached Mariah today as she and her mom were on their way to a custody hearing for Remy's daughter. Now, Mariah's even more determined to ensure her niece is placed in the right home, one that is a reflection of the love Remy embodied.
She was the one you would call when you needed help, when you needed a shoulder to cry on. She was the one. We have part of our justice, but we didn't get all of it yet.
The 22-year-old Atongwa is in the Allegheny County Jail tonight pending preliminary arraignment. In addition to being charged with criminal homicide, he's also charged with endangering the welfare of a child.
Due to the severity of the charges, the district attorney's office is working closely with investigators to solidify their case, aiming to pursue the maximum penalties allowed under Pennsylvania law for both homicide and child endangerment. On February 15th, a vigil was held at Stowe Rocks High School's football field to pay tribute to her.
Griffin was killed last week, shot multiple times in her Baldwin apartment. Police found her one-year-old child, who now no longer has her mother.
Pittsburgh's Action News 4 reporter Mike Valeni joins us live from Allegheny County Police headquarters with tonight's tribute.
She was known to those who loved her as Remy, a young mother described to me as a beautiful soul.
We're going to cry, but we're also going to celebrate her life in the 20 years that she was here on Earth.
As the wind howled and temperatures dropped, hundreds of people huddled together to pay their respects to a young woman who meant so much to them.
Remy was amazing. She was creative, she was beautiful, she was talented, she was nurturing.
What shocked many attendees was now they knew who killed Remy, and he had attended her funeral, and they remembered his unsettling presence. They remembered when he appeared at the vigil, he had, in a way, that left a lasting impact on those who were there. He had been dressed in black. He stood among the mourners, carrying his daughter in his arms. He had signed the guest book, embraced grieving family members, and even helped arrange flowers near Remy's casket.
Mariah Griffin's sister tells us that suspect Adeline Atongwa actually attended Ramia's funeral and, in her view, has been trying to garner sympathy for others. Ramia's sister Mariah says that she now sees this as all some sort of cover.
I felt angry because, like I said, you knew what you did, and for you to reach out, it's like, what are you trying to cover? You thought that you were going to get away with killing my sister?
Throughout the service, Adeline had maintained a solemn demeanor, wiping away tears as friends shared memories of Remy. He actively participated in prayers and funeral rituals, staying close to Remy's immediate family while comforting others who were crying, offering tissues and words of solace, all the while being the one who took Remy away from them. What struck many was Adeline's composure during the eulogy. As speakers called for justice for Remy, he had nodded in agreement. He even took the microphone to share his own memories of Remy as a mother, expressing how much their daughter would miss her. Throughout this, he cradled their child, the same child who had been in the apartment when he had allegedly taken her mother's life. The news of Adeline's arrest left those who had attended the funeral in shock. Many struggled to comprehend his betrayal.
The fact that she was loved by so many people, it's just like, who would want to do something to her and take her life, and in the manner of it, it's just, I just don't, it doesn't make any sense.
Social media quickly filled with posts from people who had witnessed his behavior at the memorial service, sharing their horror at having stood beside Remy's alleged killer. Local mothers groups where Remy had been active rallied together to support her family.
I'm just overwhelmed. I just can't wrap my head around it right now.
Brenda Durrell's affectionate nickname for her granddaughter dates back 20 years.
She was just sweet, loving, just my little chubby cheeks.
A young girl who grew into a promising young woman.
Remy was a shining star. Any room that she walked into, all you saw from her was her big bright smile. She was always smiling, always. She had so many friends.
Remy's older sister by 2 years, Mariah Griffin described her as her best friend.
They organized fundraisers to help with legal expenses and to establish a trust fund for her daughter. The community's focus shifted from seeking justice to supporting the child who had tragically lost both parents, one to death and the other to alleged murder.
Remy's young daughter had just had a birthday. She recently turned 1 year old. Mariah told me that she will ensure that her niece is taken care of and that she grows up to learn who her mother was and how much her mother was loved.
Remy's daughter remains in the care of her maternal grandmother, who has filed for permanent custody. Family court has granted temporary orders prohibiting any contact between the child and Adeline while the criminal case progresses. Support services are working closely with the family to ensure the child receives appropriate care and counseling during this difficult time. Could anything have been done to prevent this? Let me know what you think in the comments section below.